All right, thank you for tuning into the Common Rule Podcast. I am your humble narrator. My name is Danny, and today's conversation is with Kevin. I met Kevin through the Phoenix Film Revival here in Phoenix, Arizona, of course. And, well, we do get to talk a little bit about photography because that's probably what we tend to gravitate towards naturally. We do end up talking about a lot of good things here today. We talk about gaming. We talk about hardcore marching band and, of course, art criticism and the pros and cons of the Instagrams. Well, I hope you enjoy our conversation today with Kevin. I'll leave the links for his Instagram down in the show notes and give him a follow. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoy the conversation with Kevin.
So curious, what gave you the idea to start a podcast and interview people and keep going? And
well, actually, it was selfish reasons.
Reasons.
Yeah. So I've always, and this is one of the things that I think that's an underlying theme, and one of the reasons that I wanted to even talk about this podcast, or one of the subjects I want to talk about, is I had been thinking about it for about a year and a half. And the only regret I have is I wish I would have started then.
Yeah.
Because I would have been so far along now. The reason, and my whole thing was I didn't want it to be just about photography. Because there are plenty of photography podcasts out there, some good, some bad. And some of them, and I'm still thinking about maybe doing a photography podcast or something like that, because there's a lot out there that there's some bad information out there. Yeah. And I'm not too cool about that. Is dude, no, I shot 100 to 200 rolls of that film. That's not how that works.
Yeah.
And you're doing it wrong, bro. And it's the good thing about that, though, is that they got on their podcast quick enough because, they have limited, they've only shot this roll once, so let me do a review on this film.
Yeah.
Or let me talk about this film or this process. And it's just okay, no, you're not really educated enough to talk about it, but I appreciate the fact that you went ahead and started the podcast because that's what I should have done for real. So I get inspiration from that. But I was very interested in learning about the overall. I did want to talk about the creative process in general. Of course, where I draw from is photography, maybe a little bit of guitar work, a little bit of music, but mostly, obviously, it's photography. But I didn't want to just alienate people who are not photographers.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to talk about
anything creative.
And I wanted to talk to, originally, I set out to want to speak to anybody who does anything creative, whether they're a plumber, a carpenter, hell, a porn star, and aside from obviously writers and sculptors and those types of artists as well. But I was really interested in more of the creative process than I am about their biography or their demons or anything like that, unless that is what really feeds their creative process in a certain way that's to talk about. So that's why I started it, because it wasn't like I was losing creativity, but I was really curious about others' process to see if I can apply anything of that to my workflow. Yeah. And that's basically it. So, I mean, that's why you're here. We're going to talk about a lot of things here. By the way, it's the Common Rule Podcast, obviously.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on.
Hell yeah. Kevin's on here. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. We were just talking a little bit beforehand, and I wish the microphones were on, but hey, you know what? They're on now, sort of thing. Now, I met you through Phoenix Film Revival. Mm-hmm. Okay. And, of course, they seem to be coming up in a lot of things. And Phoenix Film Revival is a film processing lab and studio and things like that.
Yeah, so, community group.
Yeah. But, of course, you just don't shoot film. You shoot a lot of digital, too.
Yeah, right? Shoot both. It's just convenience and saves you a lot of money.
Yeah, it does. It does. Especially when you start doing commercial product sort of shoot if that's what you do and stuff like that. But hey, how long have you been shooting? Because you seem really young.
Yeah, I've been shooting sophomore year of high school, I guess.
Okay.
So not too long, but not too short, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Probably, let's see.
Doing the mental math.
7, 8, no, maybe 6.5 years-ish.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so I've probably been shooting 6.5, 7 years. Started on digital and had like a small film camera. I forget the one I had, but just shooting everyday subjects in life and seeing things that go by originally and shooting somewhat of people, but I didn't have a firm grasp of how to shoot people back then or how to take a portrait. It was just kind of like, whoa, this looks cool. Then you go home and you're like, damn, I'm the hottest shit on the planet. And then you upload it to Instagram and you're like, yeah. Now I'm just like looking back at my old stuff. I'm just like, it's trash, but you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
It's got to start somewhere with everything in life. People forget that sometimes. Like people are like, well, I want to be the greatest, juice maker on the planet. It's like, well, start today, go outside, get some lemons, make that goddamn juice. Might not taste good, but gotta start somewhere.
Do you remember why you decided to just take up photography, or was the camera just laying around there and you said, hey, let's do this?
I believe it was my friend's dad's camera that I shot first. And I was like, well, what is this? I knew what a camera was. Everyone knows what a camera is, but I didn't use one before. Mm-hmm. And I remember seeing the photos after, and I thought it was so neat how you could take a slice of life at a time, fit that into a box, and then look at it later. And you immediately understand the emotions, the thoughts, even the subject's thoughts at that time, or even if you're not shooting a subject like a landscape, the feeling of being there by looking at that shot. It was just like amazing to me. It was almost like, I don't want to say a dream, but like slice of time, a slice of life. Mm-hmm. And I found that really cool. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to, pursue this and buy my own and keep shooting.
Now I find it, I was just talking about this, like in the previous conversation I had with someone. I find it curious that you didn't, or maybe you did you start off like wanting to shoot video and then in photography, or did you just right away start shooting still photography? I
right away started doing still photography. I tried video, and props to all the people who do video out there. My God, that shit is hard.
Yeah.
That shit is hard. Like if you think about shooting a photo, even if you're in the studio or landscape or a car or a person or an inanimate object, you have almost all of the time in the world to think and process, and you get that one thing. Maybe you get multiples of that one thing, but you'll get it. But when shooting a video, you're thinking about the now, the then, the story, the everything, the in-between, and you're pasting that all together. And when you start, it might not look like what you want when you finish. During the cutting phase, during the shooting phase, like it's pretty intense to shoot a video. Like people don't understand. Props to people who do that, even like the 2-minute YouTube makers. It's like, you're the real MVPs.
Yeah, it's a process for sure. I mean, it's to do it right.
Yeah,
to do it like to make it look like it's pro quality sort of thing. How soon after you started with digital photography did you say, hey, maybe I'll do film?
It was probably like a year after.
Okay, that was quick.
Yeah, I got an Nikon F3. Started using that. Shot a couple of rolls, I believe, and then I just put it away. And then I don't know why I came back to it, but I found film a lot more, I don't want to say tactile, but more presence of mind, and less, man, I'm going to sound dumb saying this, less on the editing side, even though it's still like a lot of editing when you're scanning, your color touching. And
no, I agree with that.
But you kind of shoot it and it's in the roll, and then it's for the most part done.
Yeah. Yeah, it's we spend a lot of time trying to Photoshop it to look like a film instead of just film is a time saver, even though we talk about how involved the process is to actually make the final image happen.
Yeah.
I think once you get it streamlined, we see that, hey man, once I get to the final image, and actually if you want to scan it,
yeah,
it's faster than trying to sit there for hours on end on Photoshop trying to do something. And it's funny how that works sometimes. like taking the long road is faster.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
who would have thought?
Now, before you took up photography and film photography, were you doing anything else that was like creative or in that sense?
I actually played music for 8 years.
Oh yeah? What do you play?
I played percussion actually. So I played drums, xylophone, like anything percussion wise. I played that. I started in elementary school and ended up finishing marching band in high school year and played almost like everything under the sun. Haven't touched a drum set since.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Why did you just too much drumming, too much noise?
It's like a lot of time. People don't understand. Like I'll use marching band for example. So I remember the football kids would come over over the summer. It's like people don't understand. Like high school, it's still going on, you know. So the football kids would go to football camp, and the band kids would go to band camp, and the football kids would always come back and say, "Oh man, football camp was so fucking hard. You know, I had to pass around the ball for 30 minutes in the heat." I was like, bitch, band camp is some serious shit. You play with, so when you're in marching band, when you're playing in drum corps, you either have a bass drum, the circular one that goes like this, or you have the tenor drums, or you have the snare drum. And the lowest weighing drum is probably the snare drum, and that's still a good 40 pounds, 45 pounds.
What?
Yeah, so imagine if you're a freshman, you're like me. Like right now, I'm still pretty much a stick. I was probably like 100 pounds. So that drum is like 1/4 of my weight. Yeah. I'm carrying this thing around up in, you know, we had a camp in Flagstaff, so we're up high elevation. It's pretty damn sunny. We're melting. When we're playing out there 6 hours a day trying to learn the show, and you're marching in time, so the drum instructor's yelling at you while you're trying to get your all in time, right?
Yeah.
And then, so you're doing that 6 hours a day, and then you're dehydrated as shit. And
6 hours a day?
6 hours a day. Yeah.
Wow.
And that's the lightest drum. I think the tenor drum goes up to 70 pounds. So, and you're trying to, you know, learn how to play that, and it's wild. But ever since then, I've had like inklings of wanting to do it, but having to get like the drum set or the materials, or like having the space to have it too. It's just like, do I really want to? I now I take relish in understanding music more than actually playing it. So like when I see a video of like a good drummer, or I see like I watch live videos, a lot of drummers like and I see them doing something cool, I can like go, wow, I appreciate that. Or one thing is like I was watching Coachella live like whenever it was on live a while ago, and the drummer for Ariana Grande was like killing it, and I was like hearing the music, and I was like, dude, this drummer, I don't think most people understand, but this guy is good. Yeah. And most people are watching the show and they appreciate Ariana Grande, and that's cool and all, but I was like, my God, the musicians sometimes, like, people don't know, they're low key killing it in the back, like doing all these like crazy fills and like completely changing the nature of the music to fit that show and make it more exciting is an art form in itself. So that's what I mostly appreciate in music now. Yeah,
I think especially when you get into pop stars like that, when it's not like an individual band, like I know the drummer from Tool, and of course everyone knows John Bonham, everyone, even Ringo Starr. Yeah. Who, you know, and you know, the cat from rest in peace, I believe that fucking cat from Rush just passed away. Yep.
Avenged Sevenfold's original drummer too.
Yeah, you look at these cats and like, man, these guys, of course, individually in that band, but when you start looking at the back band for the pop artists, you realize that, man, they're professional too. Yeah. And nobody knows their names or anything like that, and they go up into obscurity. But I'm sure they get a lot of gigs and
they've got to
recording gigs and stuff like that too. So no more drumming for you.
No more drumming.
Oh man,
one day maybe, but not now.
All right, I might need a drummer later on. You know, you never know. This Juan Minuto gig might take off. You know. So music, definitely, that's a lot of time to be in music too, though. That's a lot of time and devotion to that. man, I lost the looking word. Just the creative process that music in general.
It definitely teaches you a lot about practice too in the creative process.
Yeah.
How you have to constantly be doing something in that creative process to get better. You're not like, there's very few people who are gifted. And even then, the people who are gifted at music, it's like you still have to practice and play and do just the same amount of quote unquote work as non-gifted people.
Yeah.
To be great. Like, it's really good foundation for, creative knowledge.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I just saw a documentary about John Coltrane not too long ago. And one of the things that I always knew about him, because I again, and I've said this before, I don't know shit about jazz, but I love John Coltrane and a bunch of other cats too, that, Charlie Parker, Miles Davis, these cats that their music really stands out. But everyone, John Coltrane is on like the upper echelon to where I think there's a church after him. He's like a saint, like there's a religion for John Coltrane. The thing is that I always knew, because I read a lot of stuff on him, and I read his biography, Chasing the Train. I always knew that what he did was he practiced all the time.
Yeah.
Even when he was already considered, very, very talented, he always practiced.
Yeah.
But the thing that this documentary, what they mentioned that blew me away was that when he first started out in jazz, he was really not that good. He was, especially during his Navy days and when he was in these bands, I didn't realize that people nowadays are picking him apart. Like, yeah, he was not a very good musician. He definitely was not the John Coltrane that we know today.
Of course, because jazz it's hard.
It's hard. And what he did, though, was practice all the time. And it's him, and there's another musician too, like Eddie Van Halen.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not a huge Eddie Van Halen fan, but I definitely appreciate what he does. And I've mentioned this before too, where he was in an interview once, and somebody asked him some sort of generic question, like, what's it like to have this God-given talent? And which he blew up, and he goes, God-given talent?
That's such a big insult to any artist.
So I practice for 12 to 16 hours a day since I was a kid to be this good.
Yeah.
I know I'm this good because I fucking practice being this good.
Hitting those scales.
Yeah. God did not give me this talent. He might have given me persistency or whatever else, but I hone this talent on my own.
Yeah.
And I think it's what a lot of people don't realize in the creative process is that, of course, if you just want to be a hobbyist,
that's cool.
Be a hobbyist. But if you want to be good at something, what the Japanese say, you got to be 10,000 hours in order to be a master at something.
I would even say that's just the foundation.
Yeah.
10,000 hours. It's like, I remember someone had this quote about photography, like, it takes 10,000 photographs when you start to be good, and then it takes 10,000 more to be great. I'm just like, there's no amount of photographs you can take to make you the best photographer of all time. Like, yeah. I'm sure people at their top peak, like the best of the best, probably think they're still shit and there's still so much to learn. Like, I haven't met any serious like photographer who's like, well, I know it all, I'm done.
Yeah.
It's like, who says that?
Yeah. It's people who aren't artists say that. And there's if people who are into photography and not just the creative process, there's a great podcast out there called Lens Work. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't talk about any technical data about photography. He talks about the creative process in the photography.
Yeah. And
he talks about one of his buddies who ended up he was obsessed with printing. And if you guys don't know, back in the days, you used to actually print your photographs. You just didn't look at them on Instagram. And he became such a great printer and a photographer as well, but he really mastered printing.
Yeah.
And one day he quit. And his buddy asked him, "Why did you quit?" He's all, "Because I've learned everything I possibly could, and I've set out every single goal that I wanted in printing, and I feel like I have nothing more to learn from this." And I'm like, he was in it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, maybe. Well, there's two ways I could see that. Either like he had specific goals, like I just want to learn this and this and this, and I'm done. And then you can be like, okay, I've learned everything, I'm done, But like, I feel like at that level, if you feel like you've known everything, that's when the real fun starts.
Yeah.
Because that's when you start experimenting. That's when you start creating new art forms and going to like new echelons where no darkroom printer has gone before, you know, like how people were experimenting in the early 1900s, 1800s, like, some of the, oh my God, I can't believe this is escaping my mind, but, original wet plate photographers and, original, the movement that started, the
daguerreotype sort of stuff, or
yeah, and so the multiple exposures and creating photos from other photos by merging things in the dark room. That's like where that guy was, and he should have just kept going. But if you want to quit, that's cool too.
Yeah, I mean, I think about like Mozart. The guy, or was it Mozart? I think so. The guy was deaf.
Yeah.
But he already knew so much about music that he didn't need to hear anymore. He was still writing these concerts.
Yeah.
What if he just said, well, I already know so much music. I'm deaf. I already hear the music in my head. I know what it's like. Yeah. What if all of a sudden he goes, I don't need to make any more music because I already know it all. And I get into that like, somebody was in it for the wrong reasons. And I can understand losing. And this is, again, going back to the original, one of the things about I make this podcast is that if someone's in a rut or something, creatively speaking, they can't seem to get out of the same thing or keep doing the same mistakes, hopefully this podcast allows them to be able to find an alternative way to keep creating.
Yeah.
Instead of being stuck and going, you know what, I've learned everything I could and I can't possibly do this anymore.
Yeah. Question for you. Nowadays, when we have like Instagram and Twitter and social media, do you think people are creating for the wrong reasons?
Yeah, absolutely. People are, when you look at an Instagram and you look at, and I'll talk about photography because that's what I look at most, and that's probably what I'm more, I can speak more intelligently on. That's a joke, but whatever. I look at all these photographs. You know what? Fuck it. Let's shit on wedding photographers again. Let's go back to that. When you look at someone like and you can even talk about some landscape photographers, and you can throw travel photographers in this too. You look at these photographs, and they are no longer creating for themselves. They're creating for likes and more, and in a sense, more commercial clients too. But if we're going to break down the photograph and talk about whether it's a good photograph or not, or whether it really captures a moment, captures emotion, they're not shooting for that.
Yeah.
They're shooting to get more clients. And is that a bad thing? I think that if you sell yourself like that, yeah. But when you come at me and you try to tell me that I'm a real artist or a photographer in this sense, I mean, no. I mean, I know musicians that are great musicians that have told me, no, man, I just like to write jingles. Yeah. I write jingles. That's all I do.
Yeah.
I don't make albums. I don't make concept albums. I don't write songs like that. I make jingles.
Yeah, someone has to.
Yeah. And that's like great. And, and I'm not saying that trying to trick me is bad, but trying to trick a population that, no, this is real photography. Look at this.
Yeah.
It allows for people to believe that that's true.
Yeah.
And it's a great disservice to the actual art of photography.
Yeah, the medium.
Yeah. And it's
I feel that's part of the reason why the word photographer is devalued nowadays.
Oh yeah.
Or someone's like, I need a photographer for this, and you quote them, your price, and they're like, well, I know someone who could do it for a lot cheaper. I'm just like, go that way.
Yeah. Go that way. And it's like they get butthurt.
Yeah.
Like, no, I want your photography. Good. Here's my price.
Exactly.
And it's like, there's a sense like, The thing is, like, everyone was talking about in the beginning how, remember when they were talking about, like, oh, digital photography's in, so now that devalues photography, and it's going to make all those hardworking photographers lose money because of the digital.
Yeah.
And I always think that was dumb. Your photography is being devalued because it sucks. And now that everybody else can make photographs just as shitty as yours. I never worry about everyone having a guitar.
Yeah.
I just don't. Everyone can have a guitar. Nobody's going to be able to be a better guitar player than Eddie Van Halen if they don't devote as much time to their guitar as they are. So Eddie Van Halen isn't worried about how many guitars there are out there.
Yeah.
On the contrary, he's got his own model and he wants everyone to buy it too.
He's probably more excited because there's now so many more people creating new sonic, sounds that he can even sample from or hear and go, wow, that inspires me.
Yeah. And that he also inspired in the back end too. And so I never got that. What I did get is that people didn't want, now you look at, no one wanted to work on their craft as much as, just to say, the word photographer all of a sudden just means that you have a camera.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you've studied what the fuck the camera can do.
You don't even need a camera. You can have an iPhone now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a photographer.
Yeah. And you know what? Some people can just get away because they are a photographer. Other people are like, well, I just shot this with the iPhone, therefore. I'm like, no, man, that's not how it works. And when we don't realize how bad we are at this craft, I was giving you the example about how everyone knows what a shitty guitar player sounds like.
Yeah.
How come we don't know what a shitty photographer looks like, sort of thing?
That's true.
And a lot of people are, so when people create stuff, they are on Instagram. Does it devalue the layman's version? I do think that there are people out there that can create an image where people will still go, wow.
Yeah, of course.
That's great. Few and far between, as it should be. Again, because the mantra is 99% of the shit out there is crap. That's just the way it is. They can't all be zingers.
They can't. And people try to make them all zingers. And the sad thing is, like, I remember sitting in class one time and this one guy took a great photo, like, absolutely, like, just, I was floored. And he's like, I uploaded it to Instagram and I only got 20 likes.
Yeah. And
like, you could look at him and he started hating the photo. I'm just like, no, you can't let, like, these double taps of, what's the word for it? The little chemical in the brain. Dopamine, like, affect your art form. Like, Instagram is like, might not even be in here for 5 years, could just be gone. Like Flickr, that used to be like the hot spot where everyone would upload and go, wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Flickr.
I love Flickr.
Gone now, though, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's on life support, I think.
Yeah, it's still there, but
yeah, it's fading out, and it's still the best way to share pictures, actually.
Yeah.
It's better than Instagram.
Yeah.
But
because Instagram forces you into that ratio, and I can already see it in, like, young kids, like my niece and nephew, where they're, like, psychologically tuned to that 16:9 ratio. Like, and everything else looks like they don't want to see that. Like, 16:9 is the go. You can even see when sometimes I think about it myself. I take a photo with my iPhone. I go, oh man, that might not look too good on, stories because of the ratio. And I take it on my story, and instead I'm just like, oh, what did I just do? Did I just crop my art form for other people?
Yeah.
It's kind of messed up.
Yeah, and it's sad to see, like, your buddy who could have been, or who, or anyone that could be in a situation where they have the talent and have, even the motivation to all of a sudden have their fucking heart crushed because, it only got 20 likes.
Yeah.
Which is like, you know what? That's 20 people you don't know, maybe, and it's at the same time, it's like, you do have to learn, because I'm sure you run across a lot of people like I do. I'm like, man, this person, how come they don't have 1 million followers?
I do. And I think about that and I go, just cause I understand Why mostly is because like the Instagram, I don't want to say the algorithm is broken, but the methodology and the way you get to like 1 million followers is kind of dead right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so you either really have to be doing something super, super, super unique and then have the knowledge to promote that to get that, 1 million likes and become like a 1 million follower person.
Yeah.
Or you're not going to be. You almost have to spend equally as much time promoting yourself or even more promoting yourself than you do focusing on your artwork. And that can turn you into one of those people who starts, cropping things and doing things, like you said, for the likes.
Yeah.
Not many people will make it there, unfortunately.
Which is okay.
Yeah, it is okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
We were talking about this a couple podcasts ago where Aaron was making a great case to where if you would probably be not probably, the argument is that you will be more successful having a humble local gathering or local following than you will having a superficial quote unquote international following that isn't going to support you in any way.
I challenge people even right now, like, go look at your whatever recent photo is and go look at, even if it's the last 20 people, are those like the last 20 people who've been consistently liking your work?
Mm-hmm.
Then those are your fans, and that's who you should be. If you're making art for other people, that's who you should be making art for. You know? Those are the people who really fuck with your shit, quote unquote. And that's, your foundation.
Exactly. And that should be rewarding to where like you didn't lose those people along the way.
The other day, it's like I commented on a friend's post and she commented back. She's like, look at us. We've been friends on Instagram for 5 years and we don't even like know each other in person. We've been liking each other's stuff and she makes great work. Yeah. She's like, I can't believe we're still here, both making it. I'm just like, damn, that's true. Like, that's wild to think about. Like, I know this other artist. I've never met them, but I like their work so much and they like my work so much. And we've been friends for that long. That's just like, that to me is worth more than 200 likes. Like, people ask me that all the time. Like, why haven't you posted on Instagram in a while? I'm just like, I don't even know the hashtags anymore. Like, I know the ones for like the local stuff. Like, so if I was to post today, I'd probably do like Phoenix Film Revival and then Copper State Film, but I probably not going to do it like hashtag photography. Like, that's the equivalent of like, what's that saying? Do people hear when like a tree falls in the woods? No.
Yeah.
Do people hear do people see your post when you tag hashtag photography? Like, think of how many people are doing that right now. Not seeing their shit.
And it's like, I just made a copy and paste of the hashtags that I used a long time ago. And that's all I keep using. And it's just like, man, whatever. But, collectively speaking, she has probably given you over 200 likes in 5 years, maybe 1,000 likes in 5 years, So, as far as the all things being equal sense, that's true. What it is. Now, do you remember your first project that you set out that you said, all right, this is what I'm going to use with my camera, or this is, let me finish this project from beginning to end?
First project, like you mean like goal or like series of shoots, or?
Well, let's start with goal first.
Remember my first project goal was try to take, this is when I was starting out. I was like, I need to take a photo at least every day.
Okay.
I started doing that for a year or two, maybe 3 years. And I realized that's kind of like not what I wanted to do, because I was more focused on that 10,000 photographs to become good. And I realized it's kind of like in the beginning, you really need to be shooting a lot to get good. Mm-hmm. That's true. But now I realize like I need to slow down more and process and think about my creative objective goals, the mood and the feeling of the photograph, more so than just going on every day.
Yeah.
So my first goal was that just shooting every day. Yeah, that was it. Because now I still have in my like archives, like looking back, like week 116, 2014. Like,
was it anything? Shoot anything any day?
Shoot anything any day. Like, most of it was just like clouds or flower here that looked cool, random person that looked cool. And I go back and look at it and I think it's bad, but it's good. It's weird.
No, I want to touch on that in a little bit. Well, One of the things that you go through in your creative process is that you do get a sort of pretentiousness when you get to a certain level.
Yeah.
Like your shit don't stink all of a sudden. And one of the things that I regret losing during those times is the ability to shoot anything.
Yeah.
And I'm just now starting to go back and you know what? I'm going to shoot the pen on the table.
Yeah.
I'm going to shoot the cable on the table. That ability should have never gone away.
Yeah, that's a big thing too. Like people will start going, well, there are so many objects, they are mundane to me. And then you finally reach the point where you're like, there are so many objects, it can be anything.
Yeah.
That's crazy. When you can just stay in like a, little 1 foot radius and shoot 10,000 photos, that's when, you're kind of really cooking.
Yeah, that's and I forget, this quote is accredited to a lady photographer. So this is a good photographer should be able to make anything, make a photograph of anything within 40 feet of him or her.
Yeah.
No matter what's, what's in front of them or behind them or anything like that.
Heck, even in video games, sometimes I find myself playing EverQuest or World of Warcraft, and like there's sometimes there's toggle keys where you can do to turn off like the UI of the game, the interface, and you can just see the ambience of the game. And I take a lot of screenshots because I'm just like, that looks beautiful. I still have like so many from games. I don't know a mechanism to share them, but I'll think of it one day. But there's these like slice of moments in these games where like the lighting coming between the trees hitting the characters and friends I'm with, that looks beautiful, and it's equally as beautiful as real life to me. I don't know if that's like weird to say, but
no, I'm actually, I want to get into that in a little bit too, and do I think that there is an outlet for that in a weird way, but I wanted to ask you first, so as far as the first project goal, you did that.
Yeah.
And like, did you know that you of course, you're trying to get 10,000. Someone told you somewhere along the line, you said 10,000 photographs are your first worst photographs. And
yeah, it was somewhere on YouTube or just or some book I read, one of those intro photo books where I read like 10,000 is the foundation of a great photographer. And then you realize I've taken way more than 10,000 and I'm still shit. So maybe I should do something else. Maybe there's something else I need to focus on to become better. And then it's weird because that's when people start becoming more of like, I need the better gear. That's what makes me the great photographer. If I don't have the 70 to 200, I must be shit. Yeah. And then you get the 70 to 200. And you're like, why is my shit still shit? Like, I don't understand. Yeah. And then you realize it's not about the gear. It's about you. I feel so like proud when I say like, I can take any camera and make something good. Yeah. That's what's rewarding to me. People are like, why are you shooting with that today? I know you have better gear than that. I'm just like, camera's a camera. This one's 8 megapixels. This one's 2. This one's an iPhone. This one's an Android. This one's like the best camera on the planet. It doesn't matter. Yeah. And it gets to the point where like, you know what? I'm not going to carry that shit around. I'm good with a little rangefinder right now. It's all right. The little tiny camera that shoots. Odd thing is like, I want to see, I've been doing a lot more hiking lately and trying to shave the weight I'm hiking with. I find myself taking more rangefinders and shooting with that, some like super lightweight cameras. And I really feel that like photographers should be going outside more and doing stuff like that, because once you start carrying all that heavy shit, you realize it's such a pain to pull out, and you can get the same shot with a tiny rangefinder and a phone than you can do with the 70 to 200. It might not be like technically the same shot, angle for angle, what you're seeing, but relatively for the most part, you can do well. You start to see what gear you really need, as opposed to the gear you want, sort of thing. I hate hiking though, man. Oh, it's a pain. Oh man, I fucking loathe hiking. I can't. It's not for everybody. I used to be one of those people, and the odd thing is, I think it's just different things for different people. Yeah. No, I mean it's not that I just. Oh man, I don't. My brother was into hiking once a while ago when we were living in LA. He's all, dude, I found this path. It's not that long, and when we get to the top, that's what they always say. Yeah,
And when we get to the top, there's an awesome view of the Santa Monica Pier.
Yeah.
And he's like, you need to go. And I'm like, all right. So I went. And man, it was, dude. I'm sitting there with my backpack. And I got I was smart enough not to take a bunch of gear.
Yeah.
And I just, a tripod and my camera. But it was still like, dude, this is stupid. You know, and it could, like, for someone... I think it could have been 500 yards.
Yeah.
I think I would have still been bitter about having to walk 500 yards.
Like, what am I doing? Oh, my God.
And it was just like, oh, my God. Now, did you ever find when you were first going on, as far as you're moving along, you're taking 10,000 pictures a day, when did you, now, as far as did you figure out what kind of subjects you wanted to do, or what clicked in your head that you said, okay, because a lot of times 10,000 people or 10,000 pictures, and a lot of people, and I know this because, you know, you come across people, oh, I used to take pictures, or I have a camera.
Yeah.
And how did you know to keep going? What made you go? Yeah. What did you? Any projects come out? Any subject matter come out? And did anything?
Yeah.
In particular, like, go, okay, I need to shoot.
Okay,
this.
so your first question was like, what did I decide to shoot on? Right.
Mm-hmm.
I think that uniquely depends on where you are. I was thinking about that a lot. So if you're in Chicago, you might be shooting a lot of architecture. You know, time of day. You know, nice light coming in between buildings. You might be shooting a lot of ambient people here, there. Might be shooting a lot of portraits too, just like, you know, street photography, just because that's where you live. You can do that. Here in Phoenix, you find a lot of landscape photographers because that's what there is. There's not much, you know, big buildings with light rays coming through. So you can't really shoot that all the time. So I found myself shooting a lot more of just objects originally. Then I started going, I can shoot people. But then I was like, how do I find people? That's always the question people ask me. Like, how do you find models? I'm just like, well, you know, the same way anybody does or anything. Like nowadays we're in the luxury of having Instagram where you can reach out to people. And there's this weird thing in, I guess, portrait photography where like people don't understand you have to work with things that are on your level, or you have to pay to work with things above your level. So if you want to take, you know, studio portraits of, you know, people, and you don't want to pay, you need to work with someone who's also an entry level model, or else you have to pay to work with the next level of people. It might be worthwhile to pay so you can work with a better model, so you can have, you know, someone who will give you more poses, I guess, but you might not be at that level yet, so you might not get great photos. So you work on that same plane and you keep going up until, you know, you're quote unquote an expert. But originally I found myself taking, though, just slice of life, everyday stuff. And then I started doing people. I started doing a lot of car stuff. And I found I didn't really like a lot of car stuff because, as much as it's cool, and I definitely like appreciative of people who can do like really good car automotive photography. It's not for me. So that's how I found myself taking a lot of portraits.
Yeah, it's I found the same thing with car photography too. Like, yeah, it's just there's a lot of good people doing better jobs than I will ever do because I'm not going to invest that much time into doing that.
And I just don't care that much about cars. Like I like them. I know the cool ones. Like I can name a couple, but I'm not invested into it.
Yeah. And I like what you said, though, touching up on working with models and stuff, too. And that's something that I think and it's not just with models. It's paying to get better at a certain point.
For anything, really.
And I'm a big advocate of taking workshops. Yeah. Whether, you know, it's the $20 to $30, $40 workshop to where if you really want to get good at something, specifically like lighting, you're going to have to throw down and invest some money into it. Yeah. And of course you can learn on your own. You can buy books. Yeah. But having
I wish I knew about that earlier, like workshops and mentors. Like I feel like that was the biggest gap is when I started getting studio space and I had better experts around me to show me these things about lighting and setting up a studio. That was the biggest jump ever in terms of learning than sitting at home on YouTube and going, well, you place the softbox here at a 30-degree angle and you bounce it. It's like you have to see these things and do them yourself to get better.
Yeah, YouTube is great for some things, but there's a limit to what you can do. And talking to people in face to face and having a community, that's very important to get your craft going for sure.
Yeah.
No, you're a gamer too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's funny enough, my nephew's quite a bit of a gamer too. Are you the game console guy or PC guy?
I used to be a console guy, and then my friends and I, when you go into college, you start off freshman year and you're like all console people, and then you just kind of fade off because they fade off too. So I used to be a console person, still there, but I just don't touch it as much. Mm-hmm. Now I'm more of like a PC person because people are always on there. I know them, even like people I've met like 5 years ago. I can go on, they're like still there, so that's cool.
Wow, yeah. And the games that you play are you still playing that same game 5 years ago?
Yeah, still playing I guess World of Warcraft, RuneScape, EverQuest. I started playing Second Life again, which is a game that's been around for quite some time, and I got on. It's interesting to see your friends who you were like friends with when you were a kid and how they've progressed, not only in like their digital character but themselves and their persona. It's like, dang, that's interesting, like time wise. And
you can see, I guess we're in the limit where you can see somebody grow on that, because you keep the same person, the same character, right? You just keep going and you're, I don't know, questing your way through stuff. And now it's a community too, though, right? Mm-hmm. You know people online, and you guys help each other out. Yeah. And see, I don't play too much though, but I've seen Sword Art Online. Yeah. The anime. I'm really big on anime. Yeah. I like it. So I just actually finished watching that not too long ago. But I assume it's based on you build your own communities online too, and you try to finish missions and stuff like that. Yep.
Exactly. That way you finish missions, you kill things together. And my favorite thing, oddly, is like chatting with people, just like standing around the town and not doing anything, but like talking to people. And you don't necessarily know sometimes who's on the other side of the screen, but like, they're a person, they have like trials and tribulations too. It's very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you, does that feed at all into your creative process?
It does.
Yeah.
That's the odd thing. I feel like I've learned people say like video games are a waste of time. You spent 15 years playing World of Warcraft. I've learned so much about like how you get quote unquote experienced is you have to do things over and over and over and over and over and over. And you have to talk to people and you have to ask for help. You want to do like, if you don't understand something, the biggest thing you can do is reach out to an expert and tap their knowledge. Sometimes they might not respond back, but sometimes when they do, it's like, damn, I could have spent ages looking this up online or like trying it out for myself, but now I have a direct answer and I'm going to try that and it could work. Like people don't understand that. Like it's a really big thing. Like mentorship is unironically like it's dying, but it's still like super effective. Yeah. And there's a lot of forms of that in like the video game world. You start off and you're like a noob, you die a lot. You suck. You find someone who's like, let me show you how to do something. Or you find a friend, you both get really good at the thing. And one of you might not last, but you still gain that knowledge and have that help that you needed at that time to get better.
And that's something that's translated over to the real world. Yeah. Through the, or at least facilitated the way that you interact in the real world as well. And I think that it's funny. I was talking to someone the other day too that yes, gaming can be a form of creative output. Yeah, it's you either. But in my argument was you can't half-ass it. If you have to dive deep into it in order for then it to be more creative than if you're just quote unquote wasting time. Yeah. And only doing it because you'd rather not do something else. Yeah. Do you do you write games or do you make games or anything like that? Or
I don't make games. I've never written them, so I don't know it from that perspective. But I understand what it's like to be a game artist. I guess. I understand that they have a they want to do things the right way, and it might not end up the right way sometimes because, you know, they also have a boss they have to adhere to, and they have deadlines and all that.
Budgets.
Very important. The game has to make money too. People don't understand. Like, they're like, why are they doing this to the game? Like, it's changed the fundamental core, but like, do you want the game to stay around or do you want it to die?
Yeah. I think it seems to me like the most successful games were the ones that have a story.
Yeah.
Like a good story.
Yeah.
A good story. As opposed to like the best graphics in the world or something like that.
Yeah. People are still playing like, I don't know if you've heard of RuneScape.
No.
It's like, this game is like ancient. Like, this game is literally like pixel art, but people still play it because fundamentally it's a great game. It has great mechanics, and it's still like, there's something about it. It kind of speaks to the whole thing about seeing your own physical print of your own work. There's something about like having the ultra high res 1080p 4K game and then playing the little tiny game that's really shitty, but it has like soul.
Yeah.
You can feel it. It's something you can always go back to. Most people who like still play RuneScape, it's weird because you always go back for a little bit of time, and it's that same character you've had since childhood. Mm-hmm. And they play that for a little bit, and then they leave again. They come back, play for a little bit, and it's still there with you. And it's the game with soul. Yeah. Like Call of Duty #2 is gone. Nobody plays that anymore.
Yeah.
But people still play RuneScape. Gotcha.
Something that's worthwhile and probably has a good story to it, right?
Yeah.
So, what do you do for a day job if it's
So I guess I'm like a systems engineer.
Okay.
So I do a lot of things with like rebuilding Mac OS and the way it integrates with users and building systems from scratch and making sure things run smoothly.
Okay.
And that's what I do for a day. And then like I do art stuff too. So
now there's a lot of, it seems to be, you do have to, a lot of problem solving in what you're doing. Like you do have to figure out a bunch of different ways in order to achieve a certain goal in what you're doing. It's not always cookie cutter sort of stuff in that world, is it?
In engineering?
Yeah.
Not at all. But that's also the thing where it's like you have a community of people you can reach out to, like other engineers, where they may have solved a problem you're working on. So you don't directly have to do that yourself now. You can like tap their knowledge and get like a faster point, I guess.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right now is photography and gaming your creative outputs, or is there something else that you
I like creative code too. Okay. It's where, like, you use programming to make like creative visuals. So like people always ask me like, why are you posting like glowy screens on your Instagram? That's what I make with creative code. It's just they're almost like little games, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. And I started doing that 2 years ago. One summer I actually saw someone else doing it on Instagram, and I was like, how are they doing this? Mm-hmm. And there's this really big book they told me to read. It's called the GLSL Shader Manual. Don't read it. It's like 1,000 pages. It's completely dead, and like no one uses it anymore. Like, but I read it, and I started doing every exercise in it, and I started making my own little glowy screen games, and I find doing that from time to time actually is helps me keep current with programming, but it also helps me do creative things.
Okay, even though it's a dead
well, the way I learned it was from a dead book, I guess.
Okay.
So it's almost like if you were trying to learn like current math from like a book in the Stone Age. Like, it probably shouldn't do that. Probably should, have a current book right now, I guess.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Just the methodology that I was using from that book is just, it's harder. Mm-hmm. And you can go and learn quicker and easier things to get to the same path I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But there's going back to film photography, there's probably a lot to be said for going the long way in certain aspects of
you kind of get a little bit of the history too, I guess, of how these things came to be, which I think is just as important. With talking about film and photography, you kind of have to understand the photographers who came before you and set like the trend. So if you want to be a fashion photographer, looking at fashion photographers that have started since like the early 1800s till now, like you kind of You need to know what's been done, what's currently being done, so you know what to do.
Yeah. Or even another reason I keep telling people, one of the reasons I follow some Instagram people, so you learn what not to do. Too,
yeah, that too.
That's yeah. I'm not going to name any names, but yeah, that's what. When you go out, are you working on a project right now for photography or anything else?
Photography right now, I don't have any like current long-term projects that I'm trying to do. It's just mostly like shooting here and shooting there. I'm trying to think of one right now. Mm-hmm. That's just more of like a time and execution thing and needing, to put these pieces together to make it happen more so than just going and doing it. But eventually I will. But right now it's just been like, shooting that and shooting this.
Okay. And what about what about in gaming? Do you have any long-term goals or short-term goals in gaming? Or because obviously you've been playing the same game for 15 years.
Yeah.
And I can if I try to go, well, it's not a game, but again, I've been shooting for 15, 16 years. It's if I take my creative, I'm creating something new with the camera for 15, 16 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to expand on gaming.
Yeah.
After playing the same game for 15, 16 years, what are goals? How do you stay creative doing?
I actually stay creative in a way where I was playing an older version of World of Warcraft released earlier this year, and me and my friends started playing that again. We're friends from childhood, and we played that game in childhood. And they recently they took that old game and brought it back.
Okay.
We started playing that again, and one of my friends told me, you play the game in a weird way. I like to play the game where I collect assets, so like gold, more so than doing what you should be doing.
Okay.
So I like doing that. I like helping people a lot. I sometimes my guild leader, he's the leader of our, so you have a guild and it's a collection of people. Mm-hmm. And in the world we play in, there's lots of guilds. And so my guild leader always tells me you waste so much time in the game doing things for other people. And that's what I oddly like to do because I've played the game before and I've done everything before that I want to do. And now I get more fulfillment in helping people and meeting new people. So sometimes someone will type in the chat, I need help to do this quest. And he's a low level. And I go, what would a younger version of me want? Probably someone to come and help me, right? So I go, let me go and help this guy. It's probably really far in the world, but it's no effort for me to get there, but it makes so much of a more difference for them. And usually sometimes when those people level up later, they remember me oh, you're that one guy who helped me. Oh yeah, that's cool. And that's how you make friends.
Yeah. Nice.
So that's what I like to do.
Why did they bring up an older version of the game? What was the new version not doing that the old one was?
That's the question we can relate to art too. So the new version right now is owned by a bigger company who also makes the Call of Duty games and all your current blockbuster games. And they started infusing that, blockbusterness into the game. Okay. So making it more easier to obtain things, you could use real money now to buy the best stuff. Before you had to actually put effort and you had to log on every day. You had to go and kill the dragon. It could take a lot of time to do that. The dragon is a tough fight. And now you don't even need to do that. You can just, swipe your credit card almost in $20 and whoa, I have the shiny new dagger.
Bypass the dragon.
Exactly. You technically killed the dragon. That's what they'll tell you when that thing comes in your mail. So they started infusing all of that into the game. People started not liking that because it took away from the spirit of achievement, I guess.
Yeah.
So they decided to bring back the old game where you did have to achieve and do a lot of things to get that shiny thing. Mm-hmm. And people, turns out they lost 9 million of their players from the current game, and they went back to the old game.
Oh wow.
So that I kind of thought that's weird. It kind of speaks to the whole essence of art we were talking about, doing something for likes or doing something for the soul and spirit of it. Yes. People always technically gravitate in the moment, they might like that new shiny thing, the fast way to achieve it, but they'll always like the soul and the effort and the overall idea
Yes.
of something.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think 9 million people, though.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I didn't even know that that's how many people were logged on in any particular day for this. But two, that's
just in the U.S.
That should ring some bells. That should, make some phone calls like, hey, maybe the new way of doing these games isn't. I can't imagine it being.
But the thing is, from the old version of the game, they don't make as much money from it because there's nothing to buy. Yeah. And, people, I don't blame them. At the end of the day, they're a company. They have to, their objective is to make money. Yeah. They don't really care about, are people having fun in the game or not? The developers might, the artists might, the people making the game might, but the CEO guy, he really doesn't give a shit. He's just like, did we make 20% more than last year? Cool. Do whatever you guys are doing to get that 20%. Like, he has like a bottom line and he needs to meet that. Wow.
I mean, I remember, shit, man. When a band came out and sold 9 million records, that's a big fucking deal. That's 9 times platinum. Yeah. Now, you sell 9 million records and you're like, well, or 9 million video games in this case. Yeah. And then you're like, well, how do you finish monetizing the rest of the game?
Exactly. Nowadays, they sell you not even half of the game. They sell you a quarter of it, and the rest comes in little packages, kind of, that they sell back to you later. Yeah. Or they don't even have the full game designed out yet, and they'll still sell you the game. Kind of speaks to the times that we're in,
Yeah, that's shady as fuck, man. Yeah. You know what? There's a lot. Well, I remember back, you just buy one Super Mario Brothers cartridge, you just put it in there, and you just go at it. Yeah. It's and that. Again, point out what you just said. It speaks to where we're at right now as far as the way business seems to be getting done. Yeah. No one's getting nobody's getting their money's worth in certain things. Yeah. And that kind of sucks, man.
It does. And at the same time, we kind of feel, I don't want to say powerless. We know what we have to do, but we don't know how to get it done. Mm-hmm. And it's odd because the way they brought back the old game is because people were quitting the new game, and people were playing a bootleg version of that old game, which like some Russian coders, they hacked it and they're like, yo, you can come play with us. Yeah. And they're like, wow, we're losing. The reason they actually brought it back is because they realized they're losing a lot of money. They could actually just bring back the old game and say, hey, you can pay for this again and play it.
And that's hilarious. Yeah. That's something else, man. I mean, I hope they learn from it because, well, what was to say? Like, for instance, I think one of the things that we let go as a society is our ability to realize that the consumer has a lot of power. Yeah. If at one point people go, hey, man, I'm not buying that game. I don't care how cool it is. Yeah. I can't buy that game, and let alone sustain how I'm going to keep playing the game. Yeah. Because I assume that in some cases now, you can't move forward unless you pay extra money for it.
You have to buy the next one and the next one and the next one.
Yeah, and that's no bueno, man. That's the gaming world. That's not how I operate, sort of thing. But you know what? I was thinking, speaking to my nephew, I'm like, well, I might want to start playing this. I might want to start playing that. But I'm like, you know what? That's a lot of time for me, though. Yeah. There's a lot of things that, unfortunately, I need to learn first before I start.
The big hurdles to learn too.
Diving into that thing too,
And maybe you don't have to. There's like, people are different. People don't understand. Like, they're like, why is gaming such a big staple in your life? Well, because I'm different than you. It's like, why is cooking a big staple in your life? Because you're different than me. Like, there's just different things people are going to do that in their life, something becomes a staple and they have to do to maintain themselves.
Yeah. Like, I want to learn my Instapot more and more. Yeah. That's my jam. Yeah. I love doing that. So at the moment, you don't have any particular project with photography going on?
Not any particular projects, just kind of like shooting here and there. But I hope to get one going for next month, hopefully. Just got to really more focus in researching and thinking right now about what to do in art and what to do in my photography more so than just doing things. It's like people reach out, do you want to shoot? And sometimes I'll just say not really, because it's more exhausting for me to show up and set all these lights up and, you know, get myself ready to shoot and then edit these photos. And then I go, why? I just wasted all my creative energy doing something I didn't want to do, you know, so I can have like, you know, Instagram clout, I guess. It's pointless.
Yeah. Instagram clout is starting to be less and less, I think. I think
people are waking up a little bit more. They're understanding that, you know, they don't really need to shoot this or that all the time, or they can do other things. It's very weird.
Yeah. I'm glad though.
Yeah.
What, now, do you plan hopefully on having a showing, an art show sometime and taking advantage of the Phoenix Film Revival?
No plans currently, but I probably should look into that. Guess I have a lot of stuff. I've been archiving a lot of stuff, and
you have a collection of stuff.
I just don't. I always think like how or what would I show? I guess. I always people like making print wise and selling prints. I always want to know like what compels people to buy things. I guess for a print, like especially a print of another person. Like what compels someone to say, "I want that on my wall." You know.
Yeah.
I still haven't answered that question.
That's a tricky one. And someone did ask me a while ago, you know, what do you think makes a great portrait? And the best answer I can give is this. If someone looks at your work and has no idea who that person is, but still wants to put that on their wall, that's a great portrait.
Yeah.
Because you already drew that person into the photography, into the picture, into the whole ambiance. And it's like, I don't know who that thing is, but I would love to hang it on my wall.
Yeah.
And I've actually sold a couple portraits like that.
That's cool.
And I'm just like, and it's in my wheelhouse. They're musicians. They're like, man, that's a great portrait. I just want, when people come into my house, I want them, that's the first thing that they see when they walk into my house. I'm like, awesome. Cool.
That's really cool, actually.
Yeah, and it was my buddy was going to buy it. It was of my buddy, and he's all, yeah, it was, you know, where's it? Well, that dude just bought it, you know, sort of thing. And it's pretty cool to have at least that happen every once in a while. But yeah, realizing what people want to buy and is still tricky. I mean, I'm still trying to figure it out too. Yeah, you know. But hey, if you figure it out, you let me know.
I definitely will. Yeah. It's definitely a battle figuring out what people want to buy versus what they just want to see.
Yeah. I want to touch on the community thing aspect of it as well. Like, for instance, of course, you have a community in the gaming world.
Yeah.
You mentioned you have a community in the engineering world.
Yeah.
And now with Phoenix Film Revival and the film community as well, again, it is the best way to learn and the quickest way to learn from something when you go in there is and you know, again, the film community also helped you out as far as being able to take that aspect of photography forward.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. There's a lot of people who not only from like lending you gear, but also teaching you how to use things. I don't know if you know who Matt Kaminsky is.
I think so.
Yeah, he's really knowledgeable in like the technicalities of a film. He's taken so many like just straight up amazing photographs. I don't even think he realizes like they're amazing, but like he was a really cool person to hang out with, and he's not in Phoenix anymore, but yeah, Matt Kaminsky. People like that, and just like people you meet every day in like Phoenix Film Revival, even on campus. It's just like, I don't want to say, I guess being around their creative energy or knowing what they're doing and like taking aspects from them and asking them questions about things, like that's the most important, I guess.
Yeah. Now, without trying to criticize them too much or anybody else too much, because again, you belong to a bunch of different communities.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you would like to see something happen in the film community or even in maybe an artistic community that isn't happening that you would just that you think would help bring more people in or help facilitate the learning process?
See, that's hard.
Okay.
Like learning for everybody?
Maybe if you just break it down to maybe learning help you out. What would help you out more in because I'm trying to build a community as well in other aspects as well. And I'm trying to see what it's very easy to, I think my whole problem is like, I don't want to build a community of a bad energy.
Yeah.
Like, oh, these are the people you shouldn't work with. And I'm trying to go, okay, no, we should be able to build a community on this is the people that we should work with.
Yeah.
Now, aside from that, I'm trying to figure out what else could entice people to come into a community faster than eventually finding it, sort of thing.
I'm going to sound like pretty elitist right now, but in order to protect the integrity of the community, you have to almost let people find you. I've known this for running a school club directly about photography.
Okay.
There's one time we kind of were like, let's market crazy hard, get everybody possible in here. It kind of dilutes the soul of the club because more people are coming in and asking about like, well, how do I take better photos of my breakfast? It's just like, that's not what we're really about. We're about like the artistic form of, photography.
Yeah.
Most of the time we're not even taking photos, and most people come in and like, when's the next photo walk? It's like, I don't really give a shit about walking around Tempe Town Lake taking sunset photos. I've done that.
And you can do that on your own anytime if you want.
But when you go back to like having the community still there and letting people find you and joining naturally, I feel like it protects, maybe using the wrong word, protects, but like encourages more creative energy and growth internally.
So the people that are there want to be there.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, yeah.
And it might suck knowing that like you won't have like 100, 200 people all the time, but you'll have that loyal 20 people who always will be around.
Yeah, you know what? That's a great point. I think that that makes a lot of sense. Actually, because what I definitely. That's one of the things that I want to do in building another community that I have or that I want to build is like, I don't want everyone in there that, and to use it for something else.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think networking is like good and like, this isn't LinkedIn.
Yeah.
That's what that's for. This is an artistic type community.
Yeah.
I think, and that's very important to. But at the same time, I'm like, man, there's so many people out there that want to start, like, for instance, shooting film, or in certain cases want to start a podcast or want to do something. But again, but just don't jump in it soon enough.
But they have to have the resolve and like the want to do it.
Yeah.
It's like anything in life. It's like people were like, well, New Year's is coming up. I really want to get in the gym and get in shape. But do you actually give a shit about getting in shape?
Yeah.
If you don't, it's not going to happen. You're probably going to quit, not even month 3, probably month 1. You're going to waste that membership.
Yeah. When
you have the resolve, that's when you're probably going to give more effort and show up. So people were like, I want to learn film. Well, get a camera, buy some film, shoot every day. Then you want to shoot more. Then probably want to do alternative types, and you're probably going to show up more often.
Yeah, exactly. Be able to,
as opposed to someone who's like, well, I just kind of want to shoot a couple rolls.
Do you start developing your own roles, or are you?
Sometimes at home I do, but most of the time I just kind of ship it out to Darkroom in California.
Okay.
Actually, I have some at Phoenix Film getting developed right now. So
okay.
Yeah.
I think. Once you start developing your own too, you're going to be able to be like, that's just another form of creative process. And the other form of like, man, I did that sort of attitude. So that's, that's pretty cool.
Even the darkroom making your print, you're like, I did that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something, again, I keep talking about, like, as far as having something to hold, to be able to go, I created that. That's my jam right there. So any, I feel like something like, I love how like it seems like a lot of your creative process is like intertwined, like one grabs kind of from the other sort of thing here.
Yeah.
And it's, I like that. I think it's important to one feeding the other, but definitely one doesn't take away from the other one, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's okay to have,
or it's okay even too sometimes to have one take away from the other, because you need breaks too. You know, you can get burnt out from your passion. It's definitely possible. And if you don't, have, I don't want to say regular breaks, but moments of silence, moments of not taking a photograph. Like when people ask me now, like, are you coming to X and X party or X and X event? Bring your camera. I'm just like, I'm not going to bring it.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't need to bring it.
Yeah.
Everyone has a camera there.
Yeah. Everyone has a phone. They're good. And I'm not, you know. And this is going to sound like a terrible question, but I don't mean it in any terrible form.
Yeah.
And I eventually just want to make a point here. You're okay with not having, let's just say, a set photography goal.
Yeah.
Whereas you're not looking into immediate goals right now.
Yeah.
That doesn't stop you from creating pictures.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's just, you're okay with that.
Because, like you're saying, projects, long-term ones, come when you have a fully formed idea. Some of my best projects, I think, looking back in my archives, is like, I met the right person at the right time. I had the right amount of free time. I had the right amount of tools and the location to execute this thing. And it was only in that time that I could make that happen. I didn't know that when I did it, but it was only in that time that was possible. You can't really like plan for perfection, I guess, or plan to execute something grandiose. Just kind of like, you can set the small seeds.
Yeah.
But eventually you get to be inspired and all these things come together and you're like, okay, damn, that happened.
Yeah. And it's not exactly that you're roaming the creative world aimlessly.
Yeah.
You're just allowing things to find that perfect time for these things to happen.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, you're still creating, you're still going forward, and you're not quitting.
Yeah.
Because, oh my God, I should have done this by now, or I should have done that by now.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. And I think I bring that up because I think there's a lot of people that get frustrated.
It's because of the world we're in now. Yeah. I see it a lot. A lot of my friends who are like making the transition to Instagram or to like start, promoting themselves, or they get frustrated. Like, I'm not connecting with the viewers. Why don't I have 1 million followers? And like, I don't have my own gallery show yet. It's just like, well, it could happen in time. A, B, like, are you pushing for these things? Do you really want them? And then 2, we see so much stuff on Instagram that we kind of correlate people's current success with like now, like it must have happened now. That guy got a show in big name gallery now because, it just happened. They don't know that the struggles that person has gone through, or the amount of time it has taken for them to hone their art. They're just like me and you. There's just time invested in everything.
Yeah. And
with Instagram, it's like you post on your story, and it's like the now, and people see the now and they go, well, it must have happened. That's why.
And that, it really, I guess because now I'm disassociating myself from that mentality, it gets to the point where now I'm starting to look into it, and I can't believe that that's like a thing.
Yeah.
That the amount of instant gratification that either can make or break someone from continuing their creative process. And that is the frustrating part.
Yeah.
To where it's like, let alone, and never mind the fact that somebody could, at one point, maybe they have a bunch of likes, but somebody just comments on it. This is crap. What are you doing? And then that comment from, let's just say from an uneducated person.
Yeah.
To put it nicely, all of a sudden ruins it also, to where it's like, well, a lot of people liked it. And then this guy or girl just
trashed it, so I must not be good, or I probably should quit.
Yeah,
you have to really earn the right to critique art.
Yeah,
it's really weird to say, but like anyone can go in a gallery and go, well, I like this, I like that. But like to actually critique art, to take another person's art and go, well, should have been done this way and that way. You really have to be knowledgeable in a way yourself in some form of art, or you have to give something back. You can't just be like, well, this is shit. Well, explain why you think it's shit.
Yeah.
And I don't want to hear like any like comments, well, there's a dust speck in the corner. Like,
yeah, who cares about that?
Yeah.
And I think that's a very great point to make, and something that I also speak about before is that one, the unwarranted critique. That's I don't need critiques from people.
Yeah.
I don't need critiques from uneducated people.
Yeah.
Like, hey man, I don't need. Hey, do you like this? Do you like this? That doesn't matter to me because that's not part of my creative process.
Yeah.
Now, someone that I look up to and someone who I know is educated in there.
Yeah.
Now, and then I go, hey, what do you think about this? That is something that you need to do in order to get better.
Yeah.
That is a real critique. That is a real, someone's going to spend time and look at it and not go, well, this is shit.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
That's
because
true.
someone who critiques and someone who's knowledgeable may not like it, but they're going to be able to disassociate and be able to say, okay, this is where
it's falling apart and needs work, and
this is what, the lighting, the composition, as far as photography goes, and any other form. That's a great critique.
Yeah.
But when somebody comes up to you and goes, man, I don't like that, that's crap.
Yeah.
And then you go, okay, what have you done?
Yeah.
And again, it's very easy to look, and we were talking about this before. It's like, yeah, you don't know what you're talking about, man. Like, that's why I hate, and I think a critic is, I think it's a self-made American job that happened a while back when they started critiquing movies and albums and shit. It's like, and food.
Yeah, I think everyone starts off like that. I used to be like that. I was like, man, these movies suck. Why can't they just appreciate the art form? Now I'm just like, sometimes you just got to sit in the theater and look at the lights and it dulls your brain for a bit. And you're like, nice.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you want something that you can appreciate and you're like, nice. There's moments for everything. And when you're like full on critique all the time, you tend to miss the great parts of everything.
Exactly. And that's another great. Sometimes you just need to take that off and just go, we talk shit about McDonald's, but, sometimes you just want to go have a
some chicken nuggets, right?
Yeah. And it's just like, because it's fast, it's convenient, and, in some cases it's nostalgic.
Yeah.
When you love going to McDonald's when you were a little kid, something like that. But it's amazing how, and I think it speaks to the society. Everyone wants to put the 2 cents in where they don't belong. Yeah. Again, because they want other people to see it on Instagram or something like that. And it's just like,
it's a weird thing. I was listening to I think it was like some other video where people were talking about how Twitter is like the vocal minority now. Things that happen on Twitter tend to shape everyone's reality nowadays. Like one person can be upset about something and it affects the entire planet.
Weird.
That's crazy to think about, how the literal, like, think about how many people are on Twitter. Probably like, I think it's like 200 million people. It's like a small, little bit of the planet, but that pocket of people can influence so much right now with just one tweet. And is that wrong? Is that right? That's crazy to think about.
It's funny because I was thinking about the big term that they were talking about was the cancel culture. Yeah. Right. And in certain aspects, that's just a term there was this guy, right? The guy from Saturday Night Live who was like hired for a day. Yeah. But then somebody tweeted an episode, a racist thing that he said on his podcast. Yeah. Years before, and bam, SNL fired him. Yeah. They're like, well, we can't have you there. Same thing happened to Kevin Hart. Yeah. Right. He tweeted something about gay people.
Yeah.
And it was very insensitive.
Yeah.
Somebody found it. The Oscars go, you know what? Nix. And, that was a whole ordeal.
Yeah.
Now, my thing with the cancel culture is this. In situations like that, in the entertainment world, the cancel culture has always been there.
Yeah.
It used to be called Nielsen's ratings.
Yeah.
When your show wasn't doing well, everyone had the Nielsen's rating things on there canceled.
Yeah.
If they were not going to watch something for whatever reason, the show's over.
Yeah.
It didn't matter. Hey, I shouldn't bring that. Let's just say there was a really big famous show in the 80s. We won't say what it was because, it's not there anymore.
Yep.
But something happened. It was the biggest sitcom in the history of sitcoms. Are pretty gosh darn close for most of the 80s. Something happened. Nobody wants to watch. It's pulled completely off the air now.
Yeah.
Even though it was a moneymaker.
Yeah.
And that's Nielsen's ratings. Now it's the cancel culture. And the thing that I do agree with the cancel culture is that if, especially let's say something, a big franchise like Saturday Night Live, if they go, hey, we're not going to watch this show if this happens. Saturday Night, okay, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And I think that's fair because in the entertainment business, we're not talking about something else because everybody feels so entitled in the entertainment business. Like, hey, well, this guy was funny for a long time. He deserves it. No, he does. No one deserves anything in the entertainment. It's just entertainment.
Yeah,
man. It's just entertainment. You sit there and you make your money off of who listens, who watches, who goes to the shows, who buys the ticket,
and who talks about it and all that.
Exactly. I don't believe that, oh man, they should have hired him because he had put in his dues. And that's not, if you've been funny for a while and it's built on, racist jokes or well, not necessarily racist jokes. There are racist jokes that are good and that mean well, that are supposed to bring to light.
Yeah.
Thing. I heard this guy's joke. It was bad. It was terrible. It was his own podcast, which again, now we're going to the whole thing like there's no safe spot.
Yeah.
Anything that this thing gets transmitted into the world. But I do believe that speaking about just Twitter and cancel culture and stuff, I do believe that, hey man, if no one is unfortunately, if no one is going to see something, that's fine.
Yeah.
They have a right to go, hey, you know what? If no one's going to watch the Oscars this year because Kevin Hart was on it, the Oscars can go, sorry, Kevin, you are gone. Nobody's going to watch this show now. We need people to watch. Yeah. This is our entertainment business. And, that's how it happens.
That's how it is.
And I agree with the cancel culture in that aspect to where it's just entertainment. It's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
It's not some other movement. Now, I do disagree with if someone can't earn a livelihood on a rumor sort of thing.
That's a whole different aspect.
Yeah, that's different.
It goes against the whole inherent innocent until proven guilty, where the seeds and the fabric of you being innocent are completely gone.
Yes.
And you have literally no chance to get out of whatever you're in.
Exactly. And the allegations is the word. He allegedly did this. All of a sudden, basically allegations and allegedly turns into, no, he or she did this.
Yeah.
And even if they were, there's very few people that got out of that.
Yeah.
And just during that whole thing, the only thing that really comes to mind is Chris Hardwick. He's a comedian, and he had this show, and I don't know if the show was canceled because of this, but someone came out and started saying that he was inappropriate and that he did bad things. Yeah. Well, as it turns out, it was a lie.
Let's see how they can already kind of damage.
But the damage was done, basically. I think the show got canceled, and it's not like no one's hiring him, but, he hasn't really done much since that.
Yeah.
A couple other people, come to mind where the allegations were not true or were, let's just say, exaggerated.
Yeah.
To the point where it shed a bad light on a situation that really wasn't much.
Yeah.
And those people took a while for them to come back.
To recover, yeah.
Yeah, and that's sad, man, because now we're talking about it's not a cancel culture, it's just a lynch mob.
Yeah.
And that's, bad. Sometimes it works for good, but sometimes a lot of innocent people get caught up in this bullshit. And I
always tell you got to relate it to kind of drone warfare, I guess. It's like, they were like, well, a soldier doesn't have to get hurt, but you don't know who's actually getting hurt now.
Mm-hmm. And it's, that's a whole other thing too. Like, oof, yeah. So, that's the amount of power that's in this relatively small community compared to the rest of the world is crazy.
Yeah. But there's also good power in small communities. Like you're saying, you're trying to build a community of people to do, creative things. And there's power in that. There's power in having other creatives around you who you can see their work and see their ideas and grow off of and learn from. There's good things that can come from small communities.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And, that's what we're trying to build here and hopefully inspire other people to do so.
Yeah.
So, hell yeah.
In terms of that community, where do you see yourself starting with, I guess?
In building the other community?
Yeah.
Well, what I want to do is, so here's what I'm trying to do. So I shoot also. I do a lot of work with models too, and glamour, pinup, nude photography sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Now, the issue right now is that I seem to be running across a lot of people that are that have worked with people who are not in this for the right intentions and or for ruining for the rest of us.
Yeah.
So there's already like a models already have like a blacklist out there of people who you shouldn't work with.
Yeah.
Things like that. And that's the knee jerk reaction. Like, dude, don't work with this person. Don't work with this person. We need to stick together sort of thing. But what I'm trying to do is I wouldn't call it a white list, but I want to make a community to where we are secure in who we work with.
Yeah.
Like, in what you were saying too is like, hey, anybody who wants to be part of this community, then we know that their intentions are good.
Yeah.
But I really do want to make a community that's safe.
Yeah.
And that has people in it with good intentions.
Yeah.
And the problem is that a lot of these people that are ruining it are, of course, they range from being not good artistically to actually being very good technically and artists.
I can't using that part of them being them being really good to take advantage of people.
Exactly. And I hesitate to call them artists because in my opinion, I don't think artists would be malicious like that.
Yeah.
They just happen to have some talent and are abusing that talent.
Yeah.
And so in that sense, I want to build a community to where it's all forms of experiences, as far as how good they are, and just open it up and make sure that, hey, man, I've worked with this person. I recommend people work here. I recommend people work with this person, and instead of saying nope, don't work with that one, no, because I believe in putting out good energy out there. And putting out good karma, and it's not just from a spiritual standpoint, but from a practical standpoint, to where you're going to get in trouble talking about, hey, you shouldn't work with that guy, and that guy goes, why? I didn't do shit, or something like that. I don't know.
Do you feel like sometimes they don't understand what they did? I know that sounds like a dumb question, but
yeah, and I'm actually speaking to someone before. It seems like in this situation, people have been, I don't want to say abused or let's say people have been taken advantage enough to where they think that that is now part of the game, part of the industry, part of the, well, he or she paid me for this, so I now have to do this sort of attitude and go beyond what's comfortable and what's in their within their limits. Now, there's a bunch of layers as to what's going on there, of course, but there is it's okay to say no. It's okay to say, you know what, I don't do that. And I want to build something that allows people to be able to not just communicate, but learn how to communicate. And
that's a big thing. Like, for me, it's like asking, like, if there's something I can't show a model to do with my own body, or if I wanted to like adjust like even their face, I'm gonna ask. Like, I don't like to be just like straight up touched. You know, I'm sure someone else doesn't like to be just straight up touched in the face. Like, you don't have a right to another person's body, like, just because they're in your studio or behind your camera. Exactly. It's like, what?
I don't touch models. Yeah. So I if there's a hairdresser there or a makeup artist there or someone else, you tell that person, hey, can you help me out, move her hair, do this? And I don't go up and touch them at all. And that's like, people, I didn't realize that people didn't know not to do that.
Right.
And it was like, no, I'm like, no, never, bro, never. And it's just like, you know, but I need them to do this. I'm like, you tell them. Yeah. And if they don't understand, you tell them again. Yeah. And it gets to the point where, like, use your words
or show them.
Exactly. And it's that is I just didn't realize that was like, that's like rule number one, basically. And it's like, dude, I didn't realize that no one knows rule number one. Yeah. You know, and it's, that's part of the issue. And that's where it all stems from too, you know. Of course, when you build rapport with someone and you work with somebody multiple times, that's completely different, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about, being professional in the studio sort of thing. Yeah. And there's just too many lines are being crossed to where I felt the need, because now the problem with this is it's not that I'm trying to be a white knight and in building this community or trying to, it's that now it's affecting my work and who I want to work with. Yeah. And that's the issue. It's like, hey, going back to, you know, continuing and staying creative and, you know, hopefully working with good people. Now I want to work with someone, but they're out of the game because they've had too many bad experiences. Yeah. Or there's too many bad experiences in your area, so they don't even want to come. Yeah, exactly. Right. And it's one of these things where, like, well, and I go, hey, all right, this is, I detail, again, communicating is a big part of the thing, and you need to learn how to communicate. Yeah. So I'm pretty much got that down to where, like, hey, can you do this, this, and this for this, this, and this? And I phrase it in a way that is a simple yes or no question so that, you know, no one owes me anything. Yeah. I'm like, no, that's it. I don't do that. Cool. Move on, go to the next one. Yep. And you try to get it, you have to get it all out before you even start shooting. Yeah. And that's, again, people don't understand that. And I'm trying to, too many times, my point was this, that I'm not here to be a white knight and other work to affect me. Now I can't. You're going to create a good environment that fosters growth and good energy. Right. Yeah. And even if, like, just say that person used to do whatever genre that I'm asking them to do, now because of bad experiences, they don't want to do that anymore, no matter who I am or how, you know, or how much they get compensated. Yeah. And that is, and of course you can go find someone else, but I can go find someone else. But I think that the person wanted to create who doesn't do that anymore. Yeah. Got their creative wings clipped because they obviously did want to do that. They wanted to express themselves a certain way. And then they just got stuck with a shitty person who, you know, kind of abused that situation. That really sucks. Yeah. And it's happening too often here in this community to where
I just can't fathom people getting into like photography for the, like, it's so weird to think about, like they get into it for the wrong reason. That's like, why would you waste your day like that?
Yeah, and it's unfortunately, that's the other thing that goes back to what we're talking about. A lot of people, naive and innocent, look at the type of gear first and like, oh shit, this guy or this girl, because there's people out there on that also take advantage of other people, but they're, oh man, they must be a great photographer because of their gear sort of thing. And it's just like, oh, well, you know, even if they are a good photographer, they're not a good person.
Yeah.
And that's and again, and that's just those practices. The business practice side, that's another thing that we need to communicate too, especially now with more content being published online sort of thing. So that's what I wanted to build a community for. But what you just said made a lot of sense as far as like accepting the people that want to be in the community. Yeah. Not trying to hey, everybody come in here, because now that again brings it back to square one to where like I don't know everyone that's in here and I don't know what their practices are.
Exactly.
And they're just taking advantage to see who else they can take advantage in the community. So.
Yeah, and just it's crazy to say, but unfortunately it has to be like that.
Yeah, and it's just, you know, that's, you know, and I don't think it sounded elitist at all. I think that I'm going to take that idea and just start. And
it's a good thing that you're doing that, because it goes back to the whole stuff that happened with like Terry Richardson and like other like photographers. Like that was people forget that happened, and like abuse in the photography industry is not something new. It's been there. Yeah. And like bringing these things to light is very important, and not just keeping it like undertoned and sheltered and like, blah, 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 don't work with that person. It's just like,
and Terry Richardson is a great example, because for the longest time, I did the same with Bill Cosby.
Yeah.
And that was the show I was talking about earlier, of course, in case you guys weren't putting two and two together. But the thing with Terry Richardson and Bill Cosby is I didn't want to believe it. Yeah. You know, I was like, dude, these guys do great work. They're at the forefront of what they do. It must be a lie. Yeah. You know, it's just somebody trying to get money on it. Okay. Yeah. So one person comes forward. Two people comes, they're still lying. Three people comes forward. Then all of a sudden there's like half a dozen and 6, 7, 8 people. I mean, I was like at person number 8 when I started to go, okay, hold on. Hold on. That's a lot of people. Yeah. And, you know, unfortunately, that's, you know, you're thinking like 8 people. I didn't want to believe the first 7.
Yeah. For real.
And it's tough, but now, you know, neither one of them is ever going to work in their field again.
Yeah. And it's so unfortunate too, because it really, people will say like, no, it doesn't damage your body of work, but it really does. Oh yeah. Like I used to have so much of his books. I still do. And it's like, I can't look through them now and like feel the same way as I do now, knowing that, damn, that's probably what could have happened behind this like set. Like, it's just, it really does kind of devalue work and almost makes it like repulsive in a way. Yeah. I haven't said that much about art. Like, wow, that's repulsive. But now it's just like,
I don't watch Polanski movies. I don't do anything with Polanski. I don't even like mentioning him here, but just an example of whose work I will not look at, no matter how great he is or how great people think he is. You can throw everything that he ever made in the trash, as far as I'm concerned. There's no room there are too many good people they're making a lot of great art. Yeah. For me to get hung up on just that guy. Fuck the pianist, fuck fucking Chinatown, fuck the Two Jakes, fuck all that shit. I don't need that, and I don't like that people work with him. I don't like that knowingly that they know that guy's he's a convicted rapist. Yeah, he's convicted, and the reason he's not in the United States is because he's fucking fled. Yeah, if he comes back in here, he's going to go to jail.
It's wild to think about, and people still like support him, and people want to be in his movies.
Exactly, and people give awards to his movie, and I find that disgusting. Yeah, And I'm like, that guy shouldn't be working. There's no way. And there's a lot of people that working. And of course, there's the Harvey Weinstein thing too, where he's produced some of my favorite movies ever. You know, basically, I think up to a point, just about everything Quentin Tarantino did up to a certain point.
Yeah.
Where do I draw the line? I'm like, well, he produced the movies, and I can't completely boycott everything that Quentin Tarantino did because he's my favorite.
Yeah.
You know, and so, but at one point, everyone's like, well, who knew what they knew and this, that, and the other. But yes, I can go. There's certain anime that, you know, there's a guy that's got caught for, well, doing really, 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 really bad things.
Yeah.
And he's anti-Semite. Yeah. And I'm like, God damn, that guy made great work, but I can't
watch it anymore.
That, you know. And it's just like, you have to consume properly like that, not just, you know, artistically. But yeah, I can disassociate one of my favorite shows in the history. I can say I know just about every Bill Cosby episode by heart. That's how often I watched that show. That's how much I loved it. If you give me a line, I can tell you what show that was from and who said it. You know, it's fucking crazy. It
must be heartbreaking to be such a fan at that point, but then seeing that happen, you know, having to.
Yeah, I have Bill Cosby himself, basically, as a lot of other comedians, but a lot of comedians, Bill Cosby himself, I have that thing just about memorized, you know, and it's just like, you have, I think, one of the most prolific serial rapists in the history of the United States, let alone probably the world, in this entire time. He was, how many people was he raping?
That's,
you know, and the thing is, like, people knew, but you get so much power and fame that you're like, nobody wanted to talk shit about Bill Cosby because
it's like the Harvey Weinstein thing. It's like this guy's in such a pocket of power that if you like, you know, but you can't really say because then it damages you.
Yeah. And then your career's at stake.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because you have to, again, your community has to be able to battle that stuff, has to be able to say, hey, we will continue to make, and our livelihoods would be intact, even if we call out one of the most powerful people in Hollywood and
get things going for the better.
Yeah, and that's hopefully, again, trying to bring the point home of how important it is to have a community, not just to learn from and share the knowledge to, but to help protect people as well in some weird fashion. That
the people at the top, or even the people locally, or the small handful of people who take advantage of a situation and ruin things for everybody. It really sucks because these people have like even a small or large amount of creative responsibility to the whole group to protect the integrity of the whole group. From the people at the top, even the people locally, even the small people. You have almost like I don't want to say a duty, but something inherent. You have to do your best to, I can't think of the word, but not do bad, to put it plainly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To have the emotional intelligence almost to know what you can and can't do, what is art and what isn't art, and most importantly, what is abuse.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to another person.
And another group of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I know I said all levels are equal, but especially at the top, when you're one of those people who is just like, you're running it.
Yeah.
And you're doing all this damage to all these people because of whatever fame or power you think you have. That's the most fucked up part about all of this.
Yeah, because, I mean, even taking into consideration that your actions, while they seem to be isolated to you, they're not.
Yeah.
Because now, Elvin, remember this? The side story was that because there's no more Cosby Show reruns, he's not getting his royalty checks.
That's crazy.
So he had to go work at a grocery store sort of thing.
Really?
Yeah. And that's, you say what you want about that. But the problem is that these people created something that generated income to them for as long as this thing was on. They all deserved it. They worked on it. And if their royalty checks, But now no one gets to cash in on that because of the actions of one man.
Yeah.
Well, you would say one man, but maybe a group of people who also knew about it but failed to report it too.
Yeah.
So,
or even no one gets inspired by it anymore.
Yeah, and that's the worst part too. Is that it was a great show. It was great things that came out of that show, and his comedy inspired a lot of other people to be comics as well. There's again that he's got a lot of albums that inspired people. Hey, Eddie Murphy, was inspired by him as well. A bunch of other people, but then that's over.
Yeah.
And rightfully so, in my opinion. I don't think that he should be given any more attention than he already has, because he did a lot of bad things.
Yeah.
So it's, again, the importance of having a community thing there, a properly sustained community.
Yeah.
I think it's important. But, all right, so we went through community. We went through how we went. Did I miss something? Is there something else that I wanted to talk about?
I don't know.
I think, I don't know. If there was, I'd love to have you back on and get to
I'd
it,
love
man.
to come.
And especially when you start getting, I would love to see if maybe you start getting a project involved or a project going.
Yeah.
And see if you were even thinking about putting on an art show or something together.
Yeah.
I'd love to have you come on and talk about that.
Speaking of that, I would love to see a collective art show.
Yeah.
Well, all people that, the film community of all skills and all skill levels. I think that's really what brings people together too.
I think skill level of all skill levels is important.
Inclusion.
Yeah, because of course an art show should be about an artist, and of course it should be about inspiring others, and of course it should be about someone who's mastered their technique. But I think that there's a lot to be said for someone who shows their work who may not be as technically advanced as someone who's been doing it for a while.
Yeah.
And putting them together and going, hey, someone coming up and being inspired, hey, that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
But that's where I can be as well.
There you go. Or, hey, I'm next to this person who's really great. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Because that in itself is like, I'm going to do better and better and better.
Yeah, and I think that at Phoenix Film Revival, I think that's something that they're working on too.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely, if that comes on, and it doesn't necessarily have to be at Phoenix. I would prefer for it to be at Phoenix Film Revival because it's such a cool place. And
it is.
And there's a great community there of all skill levels. And it's just, he needs a little more help, though. I think as he needs help to put that on too. So.
Yeah, it's just like couple people right now.
Yeah, and he's just, for the most part, he's a one-man show out there. And
shout out Daniel
at the Phoenix Film Revival podcast. He was supposed to be here earlier today, but he's got so much work right now.
Yeah,
that he's like, man, I won't be able to make it. But have at it. But yes, if once that comes around, whether it's a solo show or a collective show, come on and let's talk about it for sure.
Yeah,
probably get into more into gaming and just dive into that aspect a little more.
Talking about the digital world and stuff.
Yeah, exactly, and how that's a legitimate way to express yourself creatively, and has a legitimate workflow for the creative process as well. Right on, Kevin. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
No problem. I'll talk to you later.
Yep.
All right. Well, all right. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Kevin. If you have any questions or concerns, please drop us an email here at thecommonrule@gmail.com. The Twitter is Restless Samurai. The Instagram is The Common Rule. And, of course, you can follow along the blog and also leave comments on there as well at thecommonrule.com. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. See you next time, and enjoy your youth.